What's going on YouTube? It's like, I want to say 2 in the morning. Yeah, 2 in the morning. For one, my sleeping pattern is completely jacked up. Partially because of the working night shift and being in the military. So, do with that information what you will. And I hate how this hoodie sits on my head, but fuck it. I was sitting here thinking about something, and it was a lesson I learned because my girlfriend's 6 years younger than me. And, she made it a point to tell me, like, don't try to parent me. Do not try to parent me. And I think me as a person that gives advice, it's almost, I want to say hard not to do it, but I've become accustomed because I've become accustomed to people asking me advice. Like, I've been giving advice for a fucking long time, and it's hard to shut it off. And I've now reached this place where I don't feel the need to tell motherfuckers shit no more. Like, it's not my job to lead people. Like, it's my job to be a leader. It's not my job to lead people, I guess, if that makes sense. Meaning, like, I'm not going to tell folks what to do, what to think. I am simply here as a conduit of experience to share experience with and to, tell you, or even just not even to tell you, but just to, trying to figure out the way to word it. I'm here as a source of information. I think that's a better way to put it. It's not my job to tell anyone anything. And honestly, swear to God, this is much easier. Because before, I felt like I was managing lives outside of myself. And side note, I'm so tired of this leg being hurt. Like, I strained my calf muscle about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago. And I'm so over these 6-week injuries that last a long time. It's naturally a constant pain. But anyway, right? It's not my job to tell anybody shit. I make it my business to not tell anybody shit. Because I feel like when you start trying to parent people, currently at this age, I'll be 33 in May. You rob people of the experience that you're supposed to learn. Like, for instance, with me, right now, currently, credit and saving money is very important. I've always wanted to save money, but I was kind of saving money from the perspective of doing bullshit, thinking that you could save money while doing bullshit. And I personally don't feel like the two don't correlate, where it's like, you make so much money, you want to party and fuck off and think you're going to save the money that you need to save. And I personally feel like the two don't work unless you make more than enough money to do both. And I'm currently at an age now where I feel like my credit is important. I would like to own a house at some point, or own something, or own a business at some point. This is just what's going through my head. I remember a conversation me and my sister had about 2 years ago. Might have been 2 years ago? A year or two ago. I want to say 2 years ago. Let's see if I don't. It's either been 2 years or a year and a half ago, right? I went to the nuclear plant. I worked at a nuclear plant named Fermi for about 9 months. Worked 6 days a week, 1 day off. This nuclear plant paid me, like, I say, $1,800 a week. I would have saved most of it had it not been for the nonsense me and my baby mama were on. And I'm so glad I stopped talking to that woman. Anyway, I came back home with about 17,000. And this is the second time I've ever had this much amount of money. Now, the first thing my sister says to me is like, listen, you can save it, invest it, put it in this situation, put it in that index fund. She started telling me where to put the money at. Me being the asshole that I was at the time, which I'm still an asshole, but I'm an older version. I told her, like, shit, I'm going to live my life. I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. And within the span of 6 weeks, blew through that money like a hot knife through butter. I say that to say, now, the conversation me and my sister have now, I revisit that same point. Well, I think I told her this about 2-3 weeks ago. And I told her, I was like, yo, because that shit was livid about that shit. She took that shit so personal. She was so angry about it. Because she's like, I can never get a hold of that amount of money, and here you are blowing through it. And I didn't understand the correlation at the time. And at the time, I was like, man, I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. I'm going to live my life. I don't give a fuck. Like, and now I'm on some type of shit where it's like, you know, I be wanting to almost call her and be like, hey, what's a good business idea to start that'll kind of work? I be wanting to have those type of conversations with her, which I haven't had. But every time I talk to my sister, it's a goddamn 3-4-way call because she usually has a kid. But anyway, right? What I'm saying is I had to get to a point in my life where credit, saving money, you know, putting back for the what if, and I'm literally someone that puts back for the what if I can imagine a scenario where shit can go wrong, I try to prepare for it. That's just me personally. But I'm literally at a point where I can have that conversation with my sister. The conversation makes sense to her, it makes sense to me, and we both get something out of it. What I'm saying is like, you cannot rob those experiences of people. You can sit there. I think this is like an older person type thing, where you get up in your 30s a little bit and you got a little life experience, or from 30s on then, because my dads do the same shit to me, where I feel like you're robbing the person of the experience that they need to have to grow into who they need to be. Because, I mean, it's one thing. Now, if you can pick it up for someone telling you, pick it up for someone telling you. By all means, I recommend it that way. But I just don't think most human beings work that way, to where you can tell them something once or twice, or you just depart some type of information. They take on said information and run from it. You have to be in a certain mind frame to do that. And most people are not there. I wasn't there for a couple of years. You know, 2-3 years ago, you know, when me and my sister had said conversation, you know, there was things my dad told me when I was 23, 24 that I honestly didn't give a fuck about till now. So, who am I to rob a person of that experience? Because the thing about it is, you know, you can read some shit in a textbook, you can watch some shit in a movie, but when you experience that shit, when you experience it, it sits with you different. For instance, like, with this arm. My arm does not work the way, I mean, it works, but it's not like the left. It's not the original arm. This is my arm now, right? And my cousins used to always tell me, like, listen, don't walk around with no gun. Don't walk around naked. Don't walk around this. Don't walk around that. And me being green is who I thought I was, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not a hood nigga like that, but I'm from this shit a little bit enough to know. Dude walked up on me, shook my hand, sucker punched me, because I thought coming around the people that I had issues with, or, you know, whatever the case may be, I thought arguing with somebody, you can just come around, everything be all right, because I didn't, you know, we didn't physically push nobody. Basically cussed my child's mom out in front of her grandmother and her mom at the house. And she cussed me out too, but I didn't think that situation would lead to what happened to break my arm. Now, dude don't want to fight me straight up. And, you know, his dad jumped in, was like, you're not finna fight my son, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, look, your son big enough to get his ass whooped. That's how I felt at the time. I still kind of feel that way. I still really kind of felt that way. But I learned from that experience to not just, how can I say it? Things in Georgia happen not so much because people just be on bullshit to that extent, but because you really be hanging around places too long, or going places that you know you probably have issues, and you just be hanging in that motherfucker like shit ain't finna happen to you. But I learned a lot from that experience. Like, if it never happened to me, like, it made me more aware of my surroundings, pretty much. And I was always kind of like that. But, you know, I wasn't privy to it that day, and I wish I had been. But, again, you don't learn from nobody telling you. Because my homeboy would tell me all the time, like, bro, you got issues. I don't know why you keep going over and thinking everything cool. Like, he would tell me. Like, and I kind of didn't give a shit. I'm like, man, I'm going to go get my job. I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. You know what I mean? And now I know, shoot. And at this point, I make it a point that I don't even like going to Georgia unless I absolutely have to. Like, and Mother's Day, I absolutely have to. But, I mean, up to me, it's too many issues I've had with people from down there that sit there and pretend like shit don't exist. Like, with me personally in Georgia, if I ever was to go back, the first thing I'm doing is changing my license. The second thing I'm doing is buying a gun. And the third thing I'm doing is getting bail money. Because I know I have issues with people that are unresolved, and I know how motherfuckers from Georgia think. Ain't nobody finna, like, fight you straight up. They gonna play up under you. They gonna sit there and kick it with you. They gonna hang out with you. And then they gonna snuff you later. That's a lesson I had to learn. Same thing with money. I mean, when I was traveling, you gotta learn to keep a little bit of money in your pocket when you're traveling. I never liked the idea of living paycheck to paycheck. It scares me half to death because there's too much shit that can happen. Like, thank God this the injury on my leg was not so severe to the point where I cannot do my job. It's discomforting. I have to do things slower. It takes me a little while to walk around the truck and check the pins, but I can walk. You know what I mean? And I try to, like I said, I try to be prepared for that. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. But I just feel like when you try to parent people and we try to tell motherfuckers what to do, or when you start feeling like you can depart your experience, again, I think this is a older person thing where you've lived through shit. Like, okay, old people live through shit and forget that they live through shit, trying to tell young people not to do certain shit, understanding that they have to live through shit. Like, those things, a lot of things I could have avoided had I just listened the first time around. But my mind wasn't in the place to receive the information. That's a place you got to grow to. You can't just wake up one day and think I'm going to start listening to people when you really don't give a fuck about what nobody's talking about. Like, when you don't give a fuck what nobody's talking about, that takes life to, like, fix that. The only thing that can really check a person or redirect them, in my personal opinion, is life. And that was something I learned recently. Like, I don't feel the need. Put it this way, it's less effort on my end to not say anything and let a person hit that wall, unless it's like a life or death thing. But just in general, like, you know, things you go through, mess up, blah, blah, blah. I feel no need to intervene anymore. I feel no need to give that advice anymore. Again, if you call and ask and we talk, that's one thing. I don't mind departing information. But to just be sitting there like, oh, you better do this and you should do that and you better do this. I'm not saying a motherfucking thing. I'm not saying shit. Because I know how people are. They're going to do what the fuck they want to do. Like, anytime I've ever given my homeboy advice on anything that he dealt with as far as women, or whatever the case may be, he did what the fuck he wanted to do. Like, that was the thing that used to aggravate me. People would call for advice, fuck the advice up, and then call for more advice. Like, what do you think I should do? And I would continue to give advice. And I would continue to be in this fucked up ass circle of just nonsense from people. But yeah, man. Don't try to parent anybody. That's it. That's the message. That's it. That's the motherfucking message. Don't tell people what to do. Let life learn them. You know what I mean? Even with me, like, shoot, man. Life got to learn me a couple times. I tell you what. I won't get drunk again in the snow and be walking around any kind of way because this calf strain hurts like a motherfucker. Like, I can deal with it. But, you know, again, I won't get this drunk in the snow ever again. So, yeah, that's it. That's the message.